Hello and welcome to the Leeds Up podcast. I'm James and I'm with Rocco Dean.
Hello.
And Dara Cunningham.
Hello there.
Special thanks to Bass & Bly, sponsors of the podcast. That's bassandbly.com, not www.bassandbly.com, Rocco, as your friend once corrected us on. They have a fantastic sale at the minute. So we know that they sell loads of cameras, binoculars, spotting scopes, tons of stuff, but they also sell a lot of used gear, and there's 10% off all used items at the moment when you go on their website. The code is on there, so make sure you go. Great deal to be had. Rocky, look like you're going to say something. Nothing.
Definitely not. Go to Bass & Bly at 6 Beulah Street in Harrogate.
Yeah, there you go. Fantastic. Well, Happy New Year. It's been a while since we've recorded a podcast. We've had 4 games since the last podcast recording. Christmas break. There's a lot going on. No one wants to hear us. You're busy as it is.
We've missed nearly a tenth of the season.
Don't say that. Don't say that. We haven't missed it. We just haven't talked about it in the public sphere. But we definitely watched all the games. And obviously we're recording after the, I was going to nearly say Hull defeat then. The whole draw, it felt like a defeat.
Debacle.
Yes,
the Hull debacle.
It was a debacle. And, what do we want to talk about before we get into that? Because we know the frustrations of that. They will have been talked about by everyone the last few days. As I see from X, everyone is talking about specific incident. But yeah, what should we dive into first?
I mean, I can't wait to talk about Meslier, but I can wait if you'd rather go chronologically and start at the good bits when we were winning.
Let's talk about Meslier. Let's get it out of the way, because that's the negativity out of the way, isn't it? And I talk about the positive stuff, I guess. So, yes, Illan Meslier. I think I was mother hen. I think I referred to myself as a few weeks ago on the podcast, because I don't like sort of going in at players. You know, as fans, I think it's our sort of role to support the team and be positive. And I was definitely, I'm not a huge fan of any sort of content creator sort of doubling down and just kind of creating talk for talk's sake. But I think we can't shy away any longer the sort of bad performances that Illan Meslier has been having, and Hull was no exception. Some really poor stuff in there. Tony Dorigo on the commentary with the particular incident where he could have knocked the ball over the bar. That was his point. You know, it's an easy thing to just tip over the bar rather than sort of trying to palm down or whatever he did, knocking it into the 6-yard box for it then to just be buried. So yeah, there's some kind of really bad stuff at the minute. Farke will continue to defend him because that's the kind of thing he is, and you know he's got to keep his positive. But I think the fans are pretty annoyed and probably had enough now.
I think he'll be dropped. I really do. I don't see how he can really play him at the moment. I think his head's completely gone.
Harrogate Town game next weekend is a perfect one to kind of drop him, really, isn't it? And give your second keeper a run out.
Yeah, I think they'll be looking to sign someone. I honestly do. I mean, like, I've always defended Meslier, really, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit that now because of how it's turned out this season. But, you know, last season, you know, people were calling for him to go, and, you know, I remember saying that there was literally no chance that Leeds were going to replace him in the summer. Obviously, they didn't, but I think now there's no escaping it. And Farke, I think he almost said as much. Like, he does this. He's sort of thinly veils things, and he says the right things not to be controversial, but you could tell his patience has snapped. And this is a situation that we've had with Rahulka, and I mean, Kiko never got dropped until obviously he was ruled out. But, you know, other horrendous keepers that we've had where it's just goes like Wiedval, it goes just beyond, and you've got no choice but to drop him. Even back at Lukic, you know, 92, 93. So I think he has to go. Well, he has to at least be dropped and rested, shall we say. I think Farke will dress it up some way, but it's just too much. His head's completely frazzled.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the Kiko situation, because Kiko wasn't going to be dropped despite his many, many, many errors. And I was a huge critic of Kiko. It was really when he got that massive 9-game ban, or was it 11? 9 or 11?
It might have been
one of
7 or 8.
One or the other.
But yeah.
Either way, it didn't matter because
enough.
You kind of knew the second another keeper came in that Kiko was never getting back in. And it kind of feels it's reached that crescendo now with Illan. Like, I had defended him all season. I think I started off the season saying he was, really top keeper. And then, I suppose as the season's gone, I've kind of lowered my expectations. I think the last time we spoke about him, I was saying, I'm losing faith in him. I think he's plateaued and gone a little bit backwards. And then this happens, and I just can't defend him anymore. Like Rocco, I mean, you obviously criticised him immediately for the first goal, and I even tried to defend him in our WhatsApp group. Said, there wasn't much you could do. But I suppose looking back on it, you're right. One of his better aspects is his one-on-one defending. Like, he kind of gets people one-on-one. And if he just stayed inside his box, maybe around the 12-yard line, around the penalty spot, and then come out and close the angle, he'd have had a far better chance than doing what he did, because he just landed himself in no man's land and gave all the initiative to the striker. So it wasn't his fault. It was calamitous defending for that one. But I think in general, he had an upward curve. He came in obviously under Bielsa in the Championship, did really well for the last few games. He got us promotion. Did really well, I think, anyway, in the Premier League first season. I thought he was really good despite a couple of errors, which you allow for a young keeper. But then he's just starting to go backwards. Like, second season in Championship, there was a lot of questions being asked. Third season in Championship, he actually got dropped, and statistics show he was a calamity. Last season, I thought he was okay, and other people didn't. This season, it's just too many errors, and it's not even goalkeeping errors to the extent. It's just basic errors. It's you missed the ball at Sunderland, and yesterday all you had to do was tip it over the bar. That's a smart thing to do. If you watch Joe Rodon's reaction, the camera from behind the goal will show the Leeds player's reaction, and Rothwell kind of throws his arms in the air and just this, but Rodon goes mad, and it's really like, why? It's like, why would you do that? And I think that's probably the difference with this one as well, is when Sunderland happened, no one can really have a go at him. Like, it's just such an anomalous, weird thing. It bounced wrong, or it didn't bounce wrong, or he took his eye off it, whatever. It was such a big error. What would you criticise him for? You couldn't go mad at him. But this one you can. This one was the decision. He didn't know where he was on the field to play. He thought he could reach up and catch it. He couldn't, because the crossbar was there. So he made a decision to take the catch instead of tipping it over the bar, not knowing where he fully was. So this one is a real big error. And it's just one too far. Like, I talked about credit in the bank a minute ago. I don't think he has any credit in the bank anymore. I think he's ran that credit down to zero, and he's in overdraft now. And I don't think Carl Darlow is any good either, but he has to come in from next game. He just has to, and he has to get a run now. But I agree with you, Rocco. I think we should be in the market for a new keeper.
Because we are a really good team, we've set a marker, haven't we, on the rest of the pitch, basically, and we need everyone to be at that standard. And Meslier he's a Championship keeper, but he's a lower Championship keeper, is how he's performing at the minute. And the reason I say that is because sentiment in football is so weird, isn't it? Because you look at Hull's keeper, and he gave the ball away to us, and Piru scores, and then a bit later on in the game, he saves the goal with a header, in a similar sort of position that Meslier was in for the first, position-wise on the pitch for Hull City's first goal. So, but it's just one too many now. That's the issue, and I think we can't afford that difference in quality in the side. It's making a huge difference to us. That being said, we are still top of the league, and we've had, on paper, we've had a great bunch of games throughout December, great set of results. They could have been better, but we are still top, which is really positive considering we have had a couple of slip-ups.
I think one of the issues with Meslier, sorry, Rocco, is the timing of his mistakes as well.
Yeah.
Like, if we look at the last couple of mistakes, the big mistakes he's made, which was Sunderland, I wouldn't fully blame him for Blackburn, but I don't think he covered himself in any glory. I think there's definitely some blame there for him. And obviously yesterday against Hull, that's three big mistakes that cost us 3 wins, and they all happened in around the 90th minute. Like, they're all last kick of the game type stuff. And that literally is costing a point. Like the one against Portsmouth where he dived out away, at least we had time to come back on that one. And that's where you can accept those mistakes. But Jesus Christ, giving away goals in the 90th minute when we're only a goal to the good, you're fully culpable for that result. And you put those 3 results together at 6 points, we'd be romping the league. As it is, we're under pressure. We've got teams breathing down our throat. And it is, sadly, I don't want to get into personal abuse because this isn't about that. Like, he's a great guy. He served the club well. But he's not a good keeper anymore. And the defence have lost faith with him. Fans have lost faith with him. It's going to turn real ugly if he makes another mistake. And 100%, 6 points, 6 points that we haven't gained are down to him.
Yeah, I mean, every team's keeper will cost them points over the season, but like you say, when it comes in the last minute like that, and there's such huge clangers, yeah, it's hard. It's hard one, and it's hard to get over. Like, I'm just like devastated. Like, yeah, we're still top and we're a point clear, but we should have that cushion. Like, you know, we were able to lose a game and remain top, and that's gone now. And we've got some, you know, decent looking fixtures coming up, but then after that, we've got a really tough run with a lot of really difficult away games. And if Meslier's in goal, I don't think we're going to win them. And I'm really worried now. You know, I've been thinking that we're the best team in the league and we're going to win the league. And I'm not so sure now, even though that we're top. You know, we've come, you know, when we left before Christmas, what were we, 2 or 3 points behind or 2 points behind? You know, we've been behind most of the season. We're top now in the new year. So that's brilliant. But I'm worried because there's a huge problem in goal, and it could manifest and it could get worse, and it could, you know, it could spread through the team. And then, you know, you get Farke said the other day, it was an interesting point. He said the teams with the best defence get promoted. Well, you know, I've sort of been writing off Burnley because they've had so many 0-0 draws at home against bad teams. But they're conceding 9 goals. It's a record in the second tier at this stage of the season in the whole of history. So, you know, with that defence, you know, they will go up if the stats are correct. And then Sheffield United, obviously, we know they're going to grind out results. So we've got a massive job on our hands, and I think we need to get a good keeper. Otherwise, yeah, we could, you know, could start sliding down the league, which is ridiculous to say after being so positive literally 2 days ago, but here we are.
Yeah, and you mentioned defence and defensive qualities. Pascal Struijk was out for the game, and in terms of team selection as well, Dara, you sort of made a point about Ramazani's fallen down the pecking order, and Schmidt also doesn't seem to be in the pecking order whatsoever. I mean, one thing we will say is one of your big criticisms of Farke was not rotating the squad enough last season. That was something you talked about a lot at the beginning of the season, and we have seen that in the last few games. And there's times where, you know, I think in our WhatsApp group, we've sort of talked between us and said, why isn't he playing so-and-so? Why isn't he playing whoever? And I think it's valid to rotate them because it's such a long season. And you think about the last 4 games, it's been a game every three days. It's like, how do players recover in time for that? Like, I haven't even recovered in time from drinking Baileys every day over Christmas to watch football. So, you know, I totally see the positive in that squad rotation. But yeah, Ramazani seems an odd one.
Yeah, I think so. It's purely because when he was in the team, I thought he was our best player. So when he was playing regularly, I thought he was our best player. Now that he's back fit, you'd expect him to be the first sub on and get him back up to speed. The amount of effort Farke went to get Solomon up to speed. Solomon was coming on every time, first sub, being awful, and then still doing it. And then Farke would get this analogy about shaking a bottle of ketchup or whatever it was. Now, you should be doing the same with Ramazani. But saying that, I don't have any criticisms on the rotations because I am a big fan of it. I do think it's needed, particularly in the forward areas. Actually, no, I'll roll back on that. I have one criticism. You should have arrested Brendan Aronson at some point. He was awful yesterday. Completely anonymous yesterday. And then when we look at Stroud coming out yesterday, I wanted Ampadu playing against Blackburn. I thought we needed Ampadu in midfield against Blackburn. And I said it on Twitter, and a few of our listeners came back with various points. I said, look, I'll explain on the pod. They were saying, and what the listeners were saying was, you know, we didn't need Ampadu to kind of control the midfield. We had control of the midfield. The problem was up front. And I fully agree with that. But look at what Ampadu did yesterday when he won the ball high up in midfield, drove forward. Remember that one? He passed it out to the left, and Solomon had a shot, should have scored it, don't know how he didn't, and then Peru was same. That's what Ampadu brings to the team. It's snapping into tackles. It's driving us forward. It's winning balls high up the pitch. And as a leader, it's also inspiring his other players around him. And as a captain, he can also be in the referee's ear, particularly in a game where we know they're going to be time wasting and kicking us. So I think that was for me, I would have started Ampadu against Blackburn. But again, I can't criticise Farke because we were winning in the 88th minute. And that's Farke's job done. He's done what he's supposed to do at that point. Maybe a little bit of criticism for not setting us up on set pieces, but no issue on the rotation. But I would like to see Schmidt again. And again, another good comment on Twitter, someone defending Farke's right not to use Schmidt by saying, yeah, look, you're saying you want to see Schmidt, but none of us ever seen him play. So what are you basing that on? But the truth is, I'm basing it on the few cameos he's gotten so far. And every time I've seen him, he looks like a really good player. So I want to see more of him. And I think that's a fair thing to ask for. Every time he's been on the pitch as a Leeds player, he's looked neat and tidy on the ball. He's looked lively. He's looked creative. They're only small cameos. But before that, I just want to see him a little bit more to see if that is the real player he is, or if he's not, fine. I'd love to see him get a bit of a run now at left back or right back, whichever it might be.
I know. I want someone, Rocco, I'm going to put you in charge of this, to look at his stats when he's come on as a substitute, because I'm pretty sure from glancing at them, he hasn't misplaced a pass, Schmidt.
Interesting.
But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Someone will let us know, won't they, in the comments, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is a bit of a funny one. I always just think, we don't see training. Like, is he putting it in? Like, is there a problem there? And that's, for me, I'm worried about Ramazani. Like, I can't see any reason how he could possibly get 0 minutes off the last 2 games, unless something's happened behind the scenes, or he's not training well, or turning up late, like we saw with Jed Spence, or whatever. Yeah, we don't know. All we know is that he's a great player, or he's been a great player when he's played. But there's a lot more to it, isn't there? I hope he comes back in against Harrogate and runs riot and gets himself back in the team, because to me he looks better than everyone else, really. Solomon's doing really well now, but very, very strange not to see Ramazani.
Dara, you mentioned Ampadu being left out at Blackburn, and dirty, boring Blackburn, you referred to them in the notes. And it was really disappointing to concede in that game, and it was just poor defending. But Rocco, you've said that it was possibly the worst half of the season.
I think it's the worst half of my life. My God, it was absolutely diabolical.
It was boring as well.
Oh, well, we had one shot, and it was a Strauch header from a corner. And I think there was a blocked shot right at the end, but it was just horrendous. And it was quite funny, though, because it came off the back of the Derby game, where we scored that incredible goal with 20-odd passes, and everyone's, waxing lyrical. So I felt bad complaining us passing it around and being patient, because, we just scored that brilliant goal. But it's just so frustrating. And I don't understand. What I don't understand is the first half, we do nothing. We have the ball, we do nothing. And then I know the game gets stretched and players get tired, but like towards the end, every single time we got possession, we created a chance. Like, James is wide, he gets a cross in the box. We've got 2 strikers in there. That was obviously made a difference. But, to like the second half and towards the end, it was exhilarating stuff. And, we did everything we could to try and get that winning goal. Just don't understand why we couldn't show any sort of urgency in the first half. They weren't defending any different, Blackburn. They weren't deeper. I don't think they were coming out less in those 10 minutes of injury time. They were just parking the bus. But we were getting in behind, getting crosses in, and we did absolutely nothing in that first 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think there's obviously a game plan there, knowing that Blackburn are actually a decent enough team, and I think they are. And I think Farke was probably being a bit cagey. We mentioned on a previous pod that I think it's 30% of Farke's losses have been at the hands of John Eustace. So in all honesty, he was probably saying, look, let's just keep it tight for the first half. Honestly, could have been for the first half, because it didn't seem to be that willingness to get at them on the front foot, which we've seen at Illan Road this season. But again, whatever he did, and again, I have to just be fair with my criticisms, because I do have criticisms of Farke, even though I think he's great, doing a great job. I don't think he's the complete article. It worked, because you're winning a game in 88 minutes, which has been the situation for the last 2 games. We have been in the lead at 88 minutes on the clock, and we've failed to win both games. I think that's okay to be really annoyed about that being the situation. I think for fans to be really peed off about being in a winning position with 2 minutes to go and not seeing it out twice in a row, that's a very valid reason to be annoyed.
Yeah, there was deep scars from the loss of last season against Blackburn as well, wasn't there? So it's, you can understand why we set up in that way. It was just painful to watch, wasn't it? Derby County, that game, we're obviously dancing around just to catch up on these because we've not really properly talked about them, but that's been played back a lot by Sky on Twitter. Potentially the goal of the season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It was beautiful. I thought we played really well that night. I really enjoyed watching us, even though obviously it was getting nervy. We hadn't scored the goal, but
felt like it was coming though.
Yeah, well, it really did. Even through my pessimism, I felt like we were going to score. I thought we were great. Just thought it looked a complete class act. Obviously, Derby aren't a good team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was over the moon at that point. Feel a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
It does actually, though. I was exactly the same, and I was lording over myself because I said on this pod a couple of weeks ago that the away form would get fixed as soon as Ampadu came back and sat in that midfield role, and to that extent, it was working. And yeah, it was a good performance, but it was a great goal. And you know what? It was the archetypal Farke goal. I'd say he was patting himself on the back. That's the goal we were talking about last season. Going side to side, going really nowhere, and then you eventually went to Somerville or Ruther, and they tried to take someone on, and they failed, and they got booted up the pitch, and we went back forward, side to side, ball came to Kamara, he had a chance, he'd have a chance to pass it into the box, he'd resist it. I watched that goal back 3 times. We tried to pass it into the middle of the box 3 times. So instead of just going side to side, we were looking to make the probe in. I think we had the ball for about 40 seconds, whatever it was. I think it was 19 passes. But 19, 20 passes. 3 times we tried to get into the box and make that incisive pass. I think that was a big difference between last year and this year. Last year it was just side to side going nowhere. This year they were really probing, trying to get in. And what a brilliant touch by Peru into Aronson. Great run by Aronson, I have to say. We all know I'm one of Aronson's biggest critics. Thought that was his best game in a Leeds shirt. He was really good. Well, apart from Chelsea, but that's a long time ago. Great run into the box by Aronson. Beautiful layoff by Peru and an excellent finish. So yeah, to me, goal of the season, no doubt. And I think Farke will be using that in his CV for the next 10 years as a manager, going to different clubs, being like, this is the way I get my team to play. He certainly won't be using the one from last season when Glenn Kamara kept passing it back.
You mentioned Chelsea there. I was with the Ipswich Outlaws this Christmas, and they beat Chelsea, didn't they, the other day, 2-0. Good
Nice.
win, that. Sickening. And Stoke was obviously a foggy night. Has anyone actually seen any footage from that game? But yeah, Peru ended up, as you put it, Rocco, coming up with the goods and rotation working where it failed last year, which is, exactly what we've been talking about all in this podcast today. And one thing we haven't said about rotation is Meslier, quite happy to rotate a keeper. We should be as well, give everyone the chance. But yeah,
Definitely.
Peru was good in that game.
Yeah, he was. I was cursing him when he missed when he got the ball and tried to round the keeper. I was like, "You stupid!" And then the ball hit the net. So I didn't say my 4-letter word. I won't tell you what the first.
You were talking about the keeper, weren't you, Rocco?
No. Yeah, it was a great finish, and yeah, just a really good night. But yeah, it was. Last season, I remember we made changes there, and like Gruev came in, and like people were criticising Farke because he'd made changes and we hadn't won. And yeah, it's a sign that I do think the squad's stronger and more balanced. But yeah, apparently we had a Meslier of last season. Did he do that many clangers last season? I don't think he did he?
Not like the ones he's done this season.
Yeah.
But on Peru and Stoke, and I suppose leading back to the whole game, 2 brilliant goals against Stoke. Another one, obviously, against Hull, the layoff for Aronson against Derby. I said last time I was on the pod, I think he's undroppable. I still think so. I think he's a cut above what we have at the minute in the forward line. There's nobody who can do what he does. I know some fans, and myself included up until a couple of weeks ago, were giving out about his lack of running. But I've had to reshape my thinking on this, and it probably goes back to seeing that stat about Bamford being the worst striker with the worst XG across the European leagues. And when I saw that, I kind of looked at who was top, and it's not the lads who are doing all the pressing. Like, yeah, there's guys up there, but they're 60, 70 million quid strikers. You know, we kind of have to reshape how we look at strikers. You know, Viduka didn't do a lot of running. Hasselbank could look lazy at times. You know, Yeboah, another one bombed out by George Graham because he wouldn't run around. Peru doesn't do that. But at the minute, he's our most dangerous threat in and around the box for goals and assists. 10 goals, I think it is this season now. 5 assists, thereabouts. And he just looks classy. You know, he'll show up at the right time when there's a chance and he puts it away. And I think as Leeds fans, we need to try to reshape how we see strikers. It's not all about running. Let Brendan Aronson do the running. That's what he's in for. That's the only reason he's in for, because he's brutal on the ball. But Peru is that X factor up front. And I think he's been class this season. Absolutely class and brilliant over the Christmas period.
I think I'm constantly on Peru's back. Like it really annoys me during games. Like and yeah, it's the movement or the lack of, I don't know, not enough presence when he should have a presence, and movement in the box as well, getting in there. I just feel like he will score goals when chances are presented to him, but he doesn't sniff out enough and he doesn't move enough. But like you say before, and you said in the past, like, is like a, cheap version of Viduka. And he really is. And you can't, we're in the championship. So, yeah, I think I'm just obviously wanting perfection and it's not realistic. I think seeing Joseph, thought he did all right again against Derby. But after half a season, I think we know now what Joseph is. And he will be all right and he'll run around. And I think I've not seen the stats, but I think we create more chances with Joseph in the team, but it don't mean we're going to score more goals because, well, he's not scoring and, Peru does come up with the goods. So, yeah, he's probably worth having in the team for all the moments where I'm like, run, move, blah, blah, blah. It's worth having him if he's coming up with a goal a game, whether it's an assist or a goal himself.
Joseph's maybe been Bamford's understudy for too long. He's learned too many bad things, bless him. And Peru, back to what I said a few weeks ago now, in that he just reminds me of Chris Wood in terms of how the fans were with Chris Wood as well, where they just didn't really get him and got on his back a lot. And then when the right person came in to manage him and shifted him into the right positions, he was just finishing like constantly. And I think, yeah, reshaping what we think and feel about Peru is a great shout, and I do agree with that because, yeah, Rock, I do laugh when you sort of go at him a bit in the WhatsApp group because I think Peru's going to come good in this game. Like I can sense it, but I totally get it as well because I've been there as well, so I understand. But overall match performance against Hull was, I mean, we looked good going forward, like we always do, don't we? And Hull were a bit more open than we were used to in recent weeks. We weren't just sort of parking themselves deep. But yeah, just defensively we're so poor, and I don't want to make the excuse of the pitch, but it must have had some bearing on how they were passing as well. Because I mean, I think they even looked at it. A couple of players looked at it at one point, but you could just tell it was just popping around. There's a certain low camera angle where they're trying to just spray it across the floor and it just popping up at people. So that never helps for a team like Leeds that have a lot of possession. I know it sounds like such a weak excuse, but a team that does have a lot of possession, it must affect them.
Not defensively though, should it?
Not
Maybe in possession,
no.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Hull looked good. They caused us loads of problems. I thought they looked dangerous. Whenever they came forward. Yeah,
Kamara
we just
for
couldn't.
them was good, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. And I mean, yeah, the first goal. I know we've spoke about Meslier, but like that decision it's beyond belief. I don't think it's talked about enough. He's just stood on the edge of his box. Why on earth would he come out? The guy's not running. There's no chance of him getting there first. But Voba was an absolute disgrace. Just jogging back, like jogging. The guy's in front of him. He doesn't care. I think he knows he's there. He's just not alive to the danger. It was the absolute epitome of complacency, thinking you're going somewhere and you're going to win. And it made me sick. And I think Voba's been really good. Obviously, I've got a bit of an agenda against him, and it's been good.
Enough.
I think but he's been good going forward. I've really liked him. I was happy that he was playing. I think he did some good stuff against Hull, put some good balls in the box. He looks like a competent, decent, technically good player. But, when you've got all that making up to do and you defend like that, that's completely unacceptable.
Playing like an angry teenager, quite happy to go forward and have some fun, but doing some graft at the back, not interested.
which is weird for a centre-back, because you'd imagine that you'd be better off going back. But I totally agree with you, Rocco. I think it was a game of a performance of two halves, if that makes sense. Going forward, we look great. And I think I even put in the group, we could score 10 here today. I'm not worried about this result at all. But we looked like we could concede 10 as well. Like, it was shambolic. And in fact, we should have been 2 down. The guy who broke down our right, got a cross in, went in between Meslier and Rodon, I think. And the guy at the back post has a tap in. Ampadu slides in enough to put him off, and he hits the post and it goes out. We should have absolutely been 2-0 down. Like, that was shambolic defending again. So I really don't know what was going on there. As I said, personally, I wouldn't have played Ampadu in defence. I would have much rather see him in midfield. And I played Vuber in his more natural position of a centre-back. But obviously, that wasn't the call. Hull are terrible team. Like, we made them look good by being so porous at the back. A friend of mine's a big fan of League of Ireland, and the whole owner owns sort of Drogheda or Dundalk. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Dundalk. But he pulled the plug on them earlier on this summer. He pulled the plug. So he's actually not investing any more money. He's like going to pay player wages. The community had to rally around and kind of had the club bought so that they could even just keep the players before it went into liquidation in the middle of a season. Like, absolutely disgraceful situation. But my mate, being a big fan of that, was talking to fans of, I think it was Dundalk. I said, the guy's just done, he's done with football. So he went straight on to Paddy Power and put a load of money on Hull to get relegated, because he's like, well, if he's doing it to Dundalk, he's doing it to Hull. And Hull had a good season last season. So he's put like 50 quid on Hull to get relegated at like 10-1 or something. So I've been kind of half keeping an eye on them this season because I didn't make the bet. I told everyone else about it, but I didn't make it myself. So I'm kind of a bit sick about that. And they're awful. They're losing most weeks. And we made them look like, prime Newcastle under Kevin Keegan. So really disappointed with that. But saying that, we, from an attacking force, came out really strong. And first person to step up and score a goal, his first goal for the club, a quality goal, Matthias Klick, was out to Naka. So you couldn't have asked for a better opportunity, for a better player to get that goal, pick after his parents being over the Christmas. I wouldn't mind, but I ordered a sushi last night, and when my driver came to the door, he was a Japanese guy wearing a Gremio top, and I ended up talking to him about football for 5 minutes, and he was a big out to Naka fan. And the great thing about sushi is it doesn't go cold. So I didn't mind standing.
Excellent. Yeah. There was something I was going to pluck out of that. I can't remember. Rocco, any comments from you?
Just a bloody lovely goal. What an absolute wonder strike, wasn't it? I think it was better than Klick's goals, It was, it was a dreamy goal. Sorry,
even
Matthias.
better than his one against Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
the
actually, yeah. I blamed the keeper, actually, Ashley Pears. We played against him the other day, didn't we? Anyway, great goal. Peruz was a great goal. Even James, getting men in the middle, and we scored, which we don't do enough. Like, there's the amount of times we were attacking without players in the middle, that crosses have to be delayed, or you cross and there's no one there. Frustrating, but yeah, get the men in the box, and we got another goal. So yeah, just, I don't know. What did you think? People were sort of saying that we should have made changes earlier to kill the game off. I mean, I struggle to blame Farke.
Do you know what? I was just thinking then, I know Hull are a poorer side than they were last season, but we are a massive rivalry to them. I know we don't see it the other way, and I think it was a huge game for them. And sometimes the league does throw up weird results, whether they're because of human error, specific error, or just because the game's bizarre, isn't it? Like last season, I think Norwich were really poor, and they drew with Ipswich. Maybe, was it twice? I know they definitely drew with them at once, didn't they?
Yeah, could even beat them.
Yeah, and it was that they were bizarre results, but they're massive local derby for them.
Well, I'm pretty sure Leicester lost to Hull away last. I mean, Hull were a better team, but I mean, then Leicester lost to Plymouth away last season. Like, if you look through the games that the top teams lose, it does happen, and we did draw obviously as well. But yeah, you are going to drop points. I mean,
yeah.
Listening to Roy Keane earlier after the Liverpool game, and like he was talking about a title race. You're going to drop points. When you get a point, you have to take it as a positive, because yeah, obviously you think you can win every game, and most games you should win, but you can't win them all. And so when you get a point, you just try and take the positives. Now, I think it doesn't really apply when you've keepers thrown in 3 clangers to cost you it. But generally speaking, we are getting draws, aren't we? We've lost 3 games.
Yeah, I think you can take positives from it still as well, because if you just dwell on the bad stuff, then everyone goes into a pit of despair and it spirals. But we've still had a really good. We haven't lost, in weeks, have we? Which is a real positive. So, yeah, income Harrogate Town.
I think it's hard to take the positives because of the nature of the draws. Like if you're scrapping out a 0-0 draw and you go, yeah, we deserve that, or we could have got something out of that.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you claw back a goal and you think, right, yeah, good point there. As I said earlier, if you're winning in the 88th minute, see the game out. Be professional, do your job, put your bodies on the line, be organised, don't panic. Illan, which is exactly what he did when both corners came in, he absolutely panicked and dropped out of position for both of them.
Yeah.
So I think, whilst I see the positives overall, I can't help but feel a bit down right now that the last 2 games we've thrown away 4 points that would have seen us, stretch a lead out at the top of the league. And the thing about having a lead in January is there is an implication there with regards to players coming in. Now, let's say Meslier makes those 2 mistakes, but we still get a win. Let's say we were 2 goals up. How easy would it be to go out and get a goalkeeper in the summer? Or sorry, not in the summer, now, if we were 8 points clear? Because any goalkeeper coming in is thinking, right, all right, I'll drop down, but I'll drop down for 5 months, and then we'll win the league, I'll have a league title medal, and I'll be a Premier League keeper next season. Now, it's obviously much more up in the air. I'm thinking of someone like Quashed Keller at Liverpool. Like, he's a top keeper. Lots of Premier League clubs will be interested in him, lots of top-tier clubs around Europe. Could we go for someone like that? Yeah, we absolutely could. Would he come? I don't know. If we were 8 points clear, 6 points clear, would he come? It's a far better chance. Because obviously in his head he's thinking, yeah, I'll come, but I'll be a Premier League keeper again in 5 months' time.
If we were, though, we wouldn't be in for a keeper, would we? It'd just keep things ticking over. And so, like, in the second Premier League season under Bielsa, when he ended up getting sacked, we beat West Ham away 3-2. We were 9 points clear of the drop zone. Like, people forget this. This was a month before he got sacked. There were 9 points clear of the drop zone. Newcastle were 3rd bottom. We played Newcastle at Ellen Road, and we lost 1-0. And Meslier, that was an absolute clanger, a complete clanger. It probably cost Bielsa his job. But the point is, we consciously decided not to sign anyone that January because we'd just beat West Ham 3-2. Everything was looking good again. Like, there was no realistic chance of getting relegated. And then a month later, we're panicking so much that we're sacking Bielsa. So the timing of the mistakes and, still picking up a point, but Meslier hopefully writing himself off to Farke. I mean, it's perfect timing because now it's January. We've got 2 weeks till the next league game. Hopefully there's a goalkeeper out there that's good, because the other thing is as well, like, it's not just the clangers. In some respects, I'm more bothered about just the bad goalkeeping, like that 3rd goal. Like, what a pathetic piece of goalkeeping to just allow a shot like that to go past you because you're panicking, you're out of position, you're overreacting, underreacting. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but it's just appalling goalkeeping. And the first one in the first half, where it hit the post, just shocking, passive, appalling goalkeeping. Like, it just looked pathetic. Like, even the goal against Blackburn, like, where was he? Ends up hidden behind about 5 bodies. Like, it doesn't happen to a good goalkeeper. Yeah, he's toast.
So yeah, avoiding disruption is what Farke said about the transfer window, and saying when you do too much business, it can disturb the spirit and the vibe. They're pretty tight. Everyone chips in. Staying vigilant for opportunities. So you can't allow yourself to be too naive not to stay awake if there is perhaps an opportunity. I think the club will be looking at some signings. Hard to know what, but they've got to be, really, haven't they? I mean, there's already teams around us that are strengthening. If they're going to do it. This is what we did last year, though, didn't we? We just didn't strengthen when we had the opportunity to. And Ipswich brought in Kiefer Moore, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult to strengthen in their position because you wonder where you would strengthen. And if you think about it, you'd probably have to think about it for quite a while to think about where we'd strengthen until
fullbacks
yesterday. Possibly, yeah. You possibly have to look at that. But I think now it's quite obvious. You've got to go now and be proactive. Like Farke was talking about being reactive there. Like, if someone of quality becomes available, we will react to it. I think he now has to go out and be proactive. He has to go and probe now and suss out a keeper who can come in and see out this effort now to win the league title, because that's what we got to do.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think we'll probably have a short list of 2 or 3 names that we hope we might be able to get if they become available. But beside that, I think hopefully anyway, surely got to be looking to get a first choice keeper in. Yeah, beyond that. And then maybe that changes it. Maybe we can't even afford to then get Buendia. I don't know. But I think it could only possibly be a number 10 if there's one there to compete with Aronson. I can't see Bamford leaving. I don't know how anyone's going to pay his wages, and I think Leeds would rather just keep him around just in case we need the third choice striker and his experience, and Farke seems to at least talk nicely about him. So yeah, hopefully keeper, and yeah, Buendia would be surely amazing. Although you never do know in January, do you? You get players and you're excited about them, and then they turn to be complete shite. Yeah.
Most of the time,
actually.
This is the thing, is like everyone pins a lot on every transfer window, and a lot of that's, buzzed by media, isn't it? But I don't think there's anything for us to really cling on to. Don't hold your hopes very high for it, is what I would say.
No, we've got to get a keeper. We've got to be proactive in that space. It's interesting you mentioned about Bamford, because obviously he wasn't in the matchday squad yesterday, and there was rumours that at this time of year is he on the way out. But so I was curious to listen to Farke's comments after the match, and he did say that he bemoaned the fact that Stroke and Bamford weren't available to him to bring on as a sub, because he wanted that experience to be able to come on and see out the game. And he mentioned that he needed that experience on the bench. So Bamford is still somewhat part of his plans from to get that shout that obviously he would have liked to bring him on if he could have, which I thought was interesting. Just one on Farke's comments after the game. I thought it was really good what he said about Meslier. Obviously they asked him about kind of dropping Meslier and the clanger, and he said, "Look, it would be really bad leadership of me now to criticise him in this moment." And I just thought that was class. Like, we know what he's saying. He'll deal with it, but he'll do it behind closed doors, and he's not going to hang his player out to dry. And I thought, yeah, fair play to you. That's exactly what I'd want from my manager. And I think everyone at the club, fans included, will and should respect that. I thought that was really good leadership on his behalf.
Yeah, definitely. And Rocco, do you want to do player ratings?
No, but what will we give Meslier? Let's just do Meslier. I mean, we gave Cody Drama a 1 against Ipswich, and yeah, I think I agree with Dara. I think this has to be 1 out of 10.
It's a 1. You could see all 3 goals.
Yeah.
And I was his biggest fan. I was a huge fan.
He made 2 saves. So that's what gets him his 1 point.
A point for each save? 2?
I was verging on 2, but no.
Okay.
Give him 1. Although we did get a point. But no.
But that's no thanks to him.
But no. Right, good stuff. Well, I think we're probably done, aren't we, for this week?
We're done.
Well, Harrogate Town next week. Rocco, you built a snowman in your garden for Alessandra and wrapped a half and half Harrogate Town Leeds scarf around it. Yes, Rocco is one of those people.
I'm not. My son and wife are.
Sure.
I don't own a half scarf. Yeah, I've done a fair bit of scouting of Harrogate Town this season in preparation for this game, and they're abysmal. I mean, like they can defend. They've got this O'Connor guy at the back who's a bit like a League Two Harry Maguire. He heads a lot out, but they've got no attacking threat. Touching wood, but we've got to be murdering them. I mean, we saw pre-season as well. We beat them 3-0. Whatever team we put out, we need to be putting them to the sword. But in the back of my head, I'm just slightly concerned. The Histon thing, and like when we beat Man U, when the FA Cup brings this type of draw up, sometimes that's when the magic happens. So you never quite know.
The part of the problem as well will be, like we said, Farke will want to do squad rotation, and how much does that upset you against the side? Like, when Harrogate Town will be well up for it, like really up for it, because it's a massive game for them. Whereas for us, it's just like, we just need to go and do the business, and actually for a young set of players coming in, that's a big ask.
They also lost 8-0 at home to Blackburn in the League Cup earlier in the season. So that's set the bar quite high. See what Leeds can do. I don't think Farke would want to do that to them, though. To be honest, would he? I think he'll just shut up shop once they're 3-0 up.
Just get stuck into them. Just get stuck in, win the game. And in fairness, I think for once the little bit of rotation we might have won't affect us as much because we have general rotation now anyway. So you'd hope that bringing in Ramazani, Donto, I don't know if Bamford's injured. It'll be
Schmidt.
Joseph.
Would you bring Schmidt in?
I hope so.
Yeah, there's an issue if not.
Yeah, there really is. I think you're into a Cresswell situation there where he's there's obviously something going on if he doesn't give Schmidt a run out in this.
Harrogate Town have got a really good right back. He might play left back, and he's called Zico. So it's the first Zico right back we'll have seen at Illan Road since the early 90s.
How do you spell it?
Well, it's his first name, and it is Zico.
All right.
Zico Asare is called.
That's like, it's your Italian heritage pronouncing right. It's just Zico.
Zico Brazilian.
He was.
Yeah, I just mean it's Yorkshire though, isn't it? Anyway.
Zico.
Anyway, so Harrogate Town, let's hope we get a positive. I mean, one saving grace is we've got 2 weeks now, 2 games within those 2 weeks, bit of rest for the players as well. So very much needed after a very busy period.
3 Yorkshire derbies in a row, east, north and south. Bet that's never happened before.
Someone tell us in the comments. It probably hasn't, or it might have done. But yeah, anyway, on that, have a great week, everyone. And Dara, back to you, me saying be positive. I was trying to sort of jimmy people up, that we are still top of the league, and take positives from that. And hopefully there will be some changes, rotations that are for the better of the club over the next few weeks. So yeah, we'll see you after the Harrogate Town game.